Every time there's an announcement of earnings in the market reacts accordingly. Hey guys, welcome back. Two of my better dividend stocks, both announced earnings this week. One of them earlier in the week, the other one just tonight. I'm recording this video on Thursday night for release on Sunday afternoon. The one that has already released their earnings had a pretty poor quarter, and the market today has reacted accordingly, really slamming them. The second company just released their earnings earlier this evening, and they're quite stellar. So tomorrow is going to be interesting to see how that reaction goes through the market. If it's anything like what I'm used to and anything like what we've been seeing lately, one is going to take off and one is going to tank for a while. But ultimately, they're probably both going to come back to fairly close to where they were. Stick around and let's discuss this a bit. So, first up, let's look at Canadian Tire. Canadian Tire missed earnings targets and released earlier this week that revenue in the quarter that they had just reported had fallen by 3.4% to $4.26 billion. And the adjusted net income fell to just $206 million from $218 million in the quarter last year. And the company is reporting that basically retail sales all around have dropped. Specifically, they talked about sporting and home items slowing up. And this is the second quarter in a row that Canadian Tire has missed earnings. Now, the one positive in this is that earnings per share were $3.08, and analysts were expecting $3.09. However, the market today really gave Canadian Tire a beating. And if we look at their share price today, it closed at $166.01, down $7.89 from yesterday's close, or 4.54%. And so, this is the sort of thing I've talked about in past videos about the overreaction in the market to a stock. And what we've seen in past, and again, I have no crystal ball, I have no idea what's going to happen here. But what we've seen in the past, what we saw last quarter specifically with Canadian Tire, was that they didn't hit their earnings mark, and the market really reacted negatively. At that point, I bought a few extra shares, and when about a week or two later, the share price pretty much just climbed right back up to where it was. So I remember making a video a while back talking about this, saying it was like a spoiled child taking their ball and going home. Fundamentally, I don't see a huge issue with Canadian Tire. And again, we are keep hearing this talk about a possible recession, and maybe we're in it already. Who knows? But $7.89 per share on earnings that they were earnings that were not met, or they didn't meet the estimates or the analyst estimates. To me, a little bit more of a reaction or an overreaction, if you will, than what I would have anticipated. Now let's compare that with the second quarter earnings of Exchange Income Corporation. Exchange Income Corporation, I've done a Beyond the Dividend video about, and it is a company that I've always really liked, and it's done really well for us, even in bad times in the market. It seems to be holding its own. And just earlier tonight, as I said, this is being recorded on Thursday night for release on Sunday. So by the time you see this, we'll know what has happened in the market on Friday. However, I'm just going to go over some of the highlights here of their quarter two financials. The quarterly revenue increased by 19%. The earnings before interest taxes it was up 28%. The free cash flow for the quarter hit a record of $98 million compared to $89 million last year in last year's second quarter. Second quarter net earnings were an increase of 23% or $7 million. The adjusted net earnings were $1 per share, which is a second quarter high, according to the company. trailing 12-month free cash flow with a payout ratio of 57%, which is consistent with what it was already at. And there's just more and more bullet points on the company's website talking about these earnings. And this is a company, as I've said, that I'm really, really high on. My wife and I both own positions in this. I have some in my RRSP as well. And it's a company that just keeps on doing well. And it's funny because the CEO commented in the notes saying that a lot of people are looking at this company as just a company that acquires other companies. And he said, well, that is a focus and they do that. They're also a company that is focused on results and they are giving their shareholders results. And so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the market reacts tomorrow to this financial report because it is exceptional. I haven't gone through the entire report, but just the highlights and such that I've seen. I fully anticipate tomorrow that there to be a positive reaction in the market to Exchange Income Corporation. And it will be interesting in both these cases, Exchange Income Corporation as well as Canadian Tire. Does one go high, one go low? And do they meet kind of back to where they were prior to these announcements and earnings? Or potentially, we always hear buy the rumor and sell the news. Perhaps Exchange Income Corporation declines a bit tomorrow as people are selling on good news. But it will be interesting to see. But again, as I've talked in the past, market reaction, earnings reports come out, and it's always, in my opinion, it's always an overreaction in both directions based on certain earnings not being hit or targets not being met, or if those targets are met and blown out of the water, so to speak. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. I appreciate you guys tuning in and checking out the video. As I always ask, if you've enjoyed this video and would consider subscribing, I would certainly appreciate it. The way that you can subscribe to this channel is by hitting that Marksy's Place icon. And until next time, take care. We'll talk to you soon.